Right back to get you on the right side, not the wrong side. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show. And we got my man Wham OG rolling with us today. And we're going over the Mid-American Conference College Football Preview 2019 right now. Oh yeah, the Boss and the Sauce Show right back at you. Mid-American Conference 2019 Preview. And I got all the fellas in the house tonight. We're giving you extra with my man OG Wham in the house. And you know the BigRagoo is in the house. BigRagoo, let the people know what's up.
Welcome OG in with us tonight. Hey Wham, thanks for coming in. We're going to have a great time. I know that for a fact. And Wham's going to do his thing. You're going to do yours. I'm going to do mine.
That's what it is right there. Right. Anything you want to tell these people before we go on this wonderful ride right here, Wham?
Hey, the boss is with the sauce. Join us.
It's going down right now, y'all. All right, yes, y'all. We're going to start it off right here in the MAC with these Akron Zips. Now, first-year head coach Tom March, he inherits a wonderful offense. He got 7 coming back on the offense, but his defense is going to definitely need a makeover this year. Now, the offense has enough weapons to at least get past the 18.9 points per game they were scoring last year. 7 of them coming back. You got a nice quarterback right here in Cato Nelson. It's going to be leading the troops on offense, and the offense looks decent. But the defense, I cannot say the same. This defense is going to need a complete overhaul in this one. Now, they were 2-6 last year in conference play, which means that this year, when it rolls around, some of those games were close. There's going to be a little animosity in the air on quite a few of those games during the conference play. And I expect them to do a little bit better than they did last year. But September 14th, first conference game is going to be against Central Michigan. And this should set the tone for how they do in the conference. Now, even if they happen to get a couple of revenge games in next year with the toe-down defense like they got, I'm calling for 5-win maximum for this Akron team. Let me turn it over to my fellas and see what they had to say. What y'all got to say about this one? Go ahead, BigRagoo.
There's a familiar guy that used to coach his team, Terry Bowden. He takes the exit, and they bring in Division 3. So he's got a lot to work over. Even though this team's got 7 offensive players coming back, some wide receivers, some pretty good guys on the line. He's got a senior running back stepping up, and he's got a junior quarterback. He's going to have to revamp the whole offense. So more or less, he's got his work cut out for him. This team last year, they only averaged like 18 points a game. And I think they were ranked 124th in the league. So, that's a look on the offense. What do you think, OG?
Now, you know what I think? I think that they brought back the whole team, Ragoo. And you know what that means. They know these players. But at the same time, they got the new coach, like you guys just mentioned. It's just crazy that you have a fresh new coach, so many in the MAC, and you got to expect the worst, in my opinion. Even though you're bringing back, 7 offensive starters and 3 on defense, I think the defense is the keys, boss. I think you're right, hit the nail. The defense might leave them slipping this year, and first-year coach don't know how to tame it.
Well, if the defense is the key for them, they're going to be SOL this year because as far as the layer of defense, they got returning a cornerback and also a defensive end and 1 linebacker. And out of those 3, they all happen to be seniors. So they got 1 senior guy on every level trying to hold the troops together on defense. And injuries can play a big part of things that could mess them up. The schedule doesn't look too bad. Now, they come out August 31st versus Illinois, at Illinois. Then they see UAB and then Central Michigan, like I said earlier. Then they have to see Troy. They got an easy win right here with Kent State. They should be able to beat Central Michigan. And they should have some luck somewhere down the road. But they do have to see a pretty tough Eastern Michigan team. Also, They have to see Buffalo, and this MAC conference is wide open right here. To me, that they have a top and a bottom, and the bottom is small. What do you think about the MAC as an overall type deal, Big Ragu?
Yeah, one side is definitely stronger than the other. We know that. I mean, on the eastern side where Akron is, you know, even on the west side, we got two teams basically. You got Ohio and Buffalo. That's probably going to be up in your top tier teams. Then at the bottom, you're looking at Akron, Bowling Green, Kent State. Same thing on the other side with Eastern Michigan and Central Michigan. But schedule wise, these guys are probably looking at a couple games across the conference, and if they could maybe escape with 3, 4 wins max is what I'm thinking. So it's all based on how they put their personnel together and what kind of defensive scheme they're going to put in. Like they were dead last in the conference against the rush on the I'm sorry, they were on the offensive side. They were dead last on rushing, but defensively speaking, they were kind of like somewhere in the middle. Actually, they were like ranked seventh, and then on the pass side, they were ranked like fourth. So it looks like they've got some, like you said, they got the work cut out for them, but they have some pieces in place that they can work with.
Right. And you know what's even crazier is that they were 3-1 last year on non-conference games. If you guys remember, they did beat the 21st ranked Northwestern last year. They were, pretty much bringing back the same team. So we could expect their offense to be clicking like you're thinking, boss. But as far as their defense, we don't know because they were giving up a lot of points as well on other games. So, but as far as their non-conference ATS record, they were 3-1, which is that makes money on our end.
Absolutely, and defense wins games, so they get the defense together, they look right. If not, only time will tell. But that's it right there, right here on the Boston Sauce Show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification. Make sure you follow us on Twitter as well. But we're gonna get off into the next team. Let's go. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you follow us and also hit that notify because we got plenty of content coming out week after week. So let's jump into the Bowling Green Falcons right here in the Mid American Conference College Football 2019 preview right here on the Boston the Sauce Show. Now, this first year coach, Scott L., he's going to be a surprise to the MAC overall right here, but he's definitely going to blend in and be a nice fit for this Bowling Green school. Now, this year's offense brings back 7, and they draw the new coach who's also coming with a new system in this one. Now, obviously, the players have to adapt to the new system, the style. The quarterback from last year, he already decided to transfer because they're bringing in a run-based defense and they're going away from a pass-heavy offense. So things are definitely going to be changing right here. The players are going to be mismatched as far as recruiting and the players that they're going to be using at this point. But the defense right here, they are SOL off top. Last year, they were giving up 448 yards per game. What can you do with a defense this year who's probably going to do the same thing right here? Now, this team, I don't expect much out of overall, but I'm excited to watch it. We got to watch something on those Wednesdays when college football comes on, in those early games on those Thursdays. And I'm usually a little itchy at that time and want to go ahead and take a shot. So I'll probably end up taking a shot with some of these MAC teams. And it's nice to know that this team right here in the Bowling Green is probably going to be pretty much a rebuilding year for them this year. And the new coach right there implementing the new system should be interesting to watch. What you guys think about that?
Okay, now the coach Scott Loeffler, he's a former Michigan quarterback, and he spent a lot of time in the college ranks. He was like back in the '90s. This guy, he's started coaching college back in '96, all the way to present moment. He's been all around the league. He's coached at Florida. He's coached at Central Michigan. He's coached at Michigan, mainly Temple, Auburn, Virginia Tech, now Bowling Green, always as an OC or quarterbacks coach. So this guy knows how to coach quarterbacks. And not only does he know how to coach quarterbacks, but the quarterback he has, Jared Dodge or Doge, he is the leading quarterback in the conference. How ironic is that? On a 1-7 team in the MAC last year. So the guys got really some good tools to work with here. And like you said, on the defensive side, they need a lot of help. And they went out and got a coordinator named Brian Van Gorder, who's coached at Georgia, Auburn, Notre Dame, Louisville, and spent 4 seasons in the NFL. So you talk about coaches, this team has got some pretty decent coaches to coach these kids up. I'm looking for a lot of stuff, like you say, rebuild, not reload, rebuild. They got 7 guys on the offensive side. They got 3 guys on the defense. So I'm thinking last year's it was like a real shit show for these kids. This year is going to be nowhere but up.
Nowhere but up. That's exactly the type of motto I was thinking of right when I was looking at all the stats that they had last year. They were really ranked bottom at all defensive statistics. Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but really rarely that you will see a good passing defense out of these guys. They actually had a great pass defense for some strange reason. I was looking at some random numbers there, but looking into this season, it looks like they're actually going through a scrimmage right now while we're taping this with Morgan State, the first game that they're playing. Looks like that's one of those good calls that they're probably looking at that game as just a wash up. I look to probably back them the first game, and after that, fade them from that point on, because this looks like a team that's probably not going to do that well in this conference with all the other up and coming teams. This is one of those moments where you have a first year coach, and I think that this one possibly will be a bad call for them. But what you think, Big Boss?
I'm not liking the offensive changes that they're doing over there. I mean, we all know the MAC is sort of like a run heavy conference, but when you recruit players to come throw and catch the ball, and then you telling them to block, that could cause a lot of different friction on the field right there. But just a note to Van Gorder, because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I kind of like the guy over at Notre Dame. He's a blitz happy defensive coordinator, but the thing where he clashed with Kelly over there was that he's kind of stuck into the way that he wants to do things, because he had some good success his first year running the defense over there, but he's kind of stuck in his ways and what he liked to do. But his caliber of coaching at this level might be something that the MAC has to get ready for. So, any of y'all got any looks on how many wins you expect this Bowling Green team? They were 3-9 last year, 2-6 in the conference. What do you expect out of them this year? I'm looking at I'll give them an extra 5 wins max, but they'll probably just get. I mean, 5 wins total max, but they'll probably get 3 or 4 wins out the season. But if the defense kind of works out and they adapt to the new offense and everything goes good, then I see about 5 wins max. How about you, Wham?
Man, bro, I don't know how the hell you see 5 wins on this schedule. I'm looking at this is at least 2, at the most 2 at this point. I'm saying like probably the first game against Morgan State. They're running against little brother right now. Morgan State just want to be a fighting at the table type of shit. And if you look at the rest of this schedule, man, I don't think these are one of the MAC teams that's going to do good non-conference. And then when you go back to conference, they're playing against superior teams. I mean, maybe Central Michigan. That's why I think they probably will get 2. But other than that, bro, I mean, I don't see that much wins out of here. They could get out of 3. They could get 3, but here, man, bro, I don't know how you see 5. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got to agree with Wham. I'm thinking 2-3 max. The game number 1, that's probably going to be the W. That's the open the door, welcome home game. And then, midway through the season in October, they got to play Central Michigan. Now, don't forget, they play Kansas State, Louis Tech, and then maybe a Kent State win, a little soft game late September. But I see 3 games max on my book.
I mean, I see 3 or 4 off top. You got Kent State, you got Akron, and you also got who was it? Central Michigan as well. They beat Central Michigan and Akron last year. They draw Kent State. That could be another win. They can win Morgan State. I'm saying max, if they happen to have a good season and these 2 groups align together, then I could see them maxing 5 wins. But for the most part, I'm around 3 or 4 for sure.
Hey, can I ask you something real quick off script right now? What about Notre Dame? You think they're gonna beat Notre Dame?
Oh, that's a absolutely not them beating Notre Dame. That's not. That's not. I don't even think that's capable. But if we have a suspect season or something, which has happened before, they might pull up a lucky one. Man, Notre Dame gives everybody a chance to try to beat them. So I don't know,
Right, it's
but
a game. It's a
you could
morning
pretty
game.
much count that one a loss.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say it's like the NFL, but any given Saturday, we could say that if that happens.
Absolutely. It happened to quite a few teams last year, and it can happen again this year. But this is the Boss in the Sauce show. We just went over Bowling Green in the MAC Conference 2019 preview. Let's get to the next team.
All right, we're talking Buffalo, not the Bills, the Bulls, the MAC conference, the MAC conference. Lance Leopold, fifth-year coach, 10-4 last year, 7-1 in the MAC. His winning ways brought to Buffalo. He was 23-27 up until the fifth year. Okay, anywhere else he would have been fired. But his overall record 132-32 in Division III plus the NCAA FBS, and he takes a pretty good team from last year and going to turn them around now. He brings back running back Jared Patterson, who was third in the conference with 5.5 yards, 1,000-yard season. And offensively speaking, they're averaging 34, almost 35 points per game. A solid look there. This is a well-coached squad. I look for them to kind of do more of the same this year. And what do you think about this, DJ? What do you think about this team going in?
Well, Coach Lance went from 5 wins in 2015 to 10 wins in 2018. Now, in 2019, we asked ourselves, but at what cost did he do this right here? The offense returns only 5 in great spots like offensive line, running back, so forth and so on. But we need to settle in a new quarterback, like a lot of these teams in the MAC right here, and the whole season is basically relying on these young guys to come in there and do well. Now, can this new quarterback sustain 414 total yards per game that they had last year? And then you look at the defense. The defense is hustling backwards in this one with only 3 returners this time. Not much to say about a defense. 10 wins is far from 6 wins in 2017. I'm going to call this a step back year for the Buffalo team. I don't see Buffalo going back to 10 wins for sure. What you think, Wham?
I think you hit the money right there on the hammer. I think they're still going to be good ATS long term through this year. I think they're still going to be good ATS long term because they still got a good coach. We've seen he exceeded expectations up to this point. And if you look at as far as like BigRagoo says, he really has some sort of leeway at this point. I would believe he has some sort of leeway leading up into this year, so he doesn't have to over project what he's already done. So yeah, I could see definitely what that I could definitely see them not hitting that same mark that they did last year, but I could understand them being really good against the spread this year just because good coaches does they do great things in great situations.
I like your look on that one, Wham. Any last words on this Buffalo team for anybody up in here? What you got to say, Big Ragu?
Yeah, just so a couple little things. Basically, due to the recent success of the program, through the Coach Lance, a lot of these kids too, they're moving on to bigger schools with these graduate transfers. That's kind of like the new free agency in college. So you got kids that are leaving. He lost KJ Osborne, who went to Miami, and he was a wide receiver. Then he lost his tight end also to Maryland. So I mean, then what they got to do is they just kind of not rebuild, but just kind of implement new players, kids that are in the wings waiting, and plug those kids in, and that's where the coaching ability comes into play. So I look for this team to probably stay pretty solid, maybe a slight regression, but because of the coaching style and the way this guy goes to war in the trenches, I look for this team to kind of stay where they're at and maybe in another year or two bounce right back up.
Hey, but speaking of the coach, by the way, this coach, I have to give him his props. He definitely did what coaches are supposed to do, and that's build a program. Now, he did leave himself flat with only three coming in defense, but in his fourth year last year, he did exceed and take the team up to 10 wins, which is a lot of wins for this organization in a while. So I kind of like his coaching style. Um, these are all his recruited players, so it can be easy for him to adjust. I say definitely don't count this team out, but I can't see him going 10-1. You think they go 10-1, Wham?
Nah. Not. I don't think that's gonna happen. Not in this Mac. I think this Mac is gonna be, not wide open, but it has some really good spots in it. And everybody's gonna get tested. Everyone is gonna get tested this year. I feel, and in this case, I think they're gonna get tested a few times, and they might get touched up a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like they might get touched up in certain spots. I mean, as far as their record, I mean, as far as their schedule for this year, they play Penn State the second game. They play, I think, they play a little cupcake game originally, if I'm not mistaken. Then they play Penn State the next game. So they don't have like such a easy schedule coming up this year. So I think that's what's going to really hurt them. And on top of that, them, having some leeway. I'm like factoring that in a little bit as well, but I'm not going all the way in depth on that.
Well, I'm gonna be a little optimistic with him and expect a good season out of this one, but definitely not the 10 wins like before. But like I said, I like the guy, man. He did what coach is supposed to do. You get a program, you deal with the players you had, you recruit the players you got, and he got some nice QB battle going on right now. And if both of these QBs, they've been around here just for this point in time to where these are his recruited players, and it's going to be a nice battle. And I quote out of the Lindley magazine, this is from Coach Lands himself, speaking upon the quarterback battle that they have for the offensive spot right here. He says, we want to make sure we continue to create competition to evaluate the situation. So he's definitely in tune. I think this guy may be at Buffalo for a while, man. We may look in here 5 years from now, this guy's still hanging around. He may pull a rabbit out of a hat on this one. Any optimism or opposite of optimism, Big Ragu?
No, everything's right on point. We talk about win totals for the season, possibly. Maybe you're looking at a 6-6 season, maybe 7-5. Along those range. I don't see the 10 wins. No way they get the 10 wins. More realistically, 6-7 wins in my book.
Well,
Yeah.
like we always say, you heard it here first, right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show, Mid American Conference. We just went over Buffalo Bulls, and who do we have up next? Kent State Golden Flashes. Another team. I don't know nobody who's a fan of this team, but let's get right into it on the Boss and the Sauce Show right here, MAC Conference. We made it over to Kent State. Now, Kent State has a second-year coach, Sean Lewis. He must show and improve this year from last year's record, despite the school's 3-win maximum that they've been having over the last five years. Coach Lewis may achieve going one step above that, returning 9 on offense, 6 on defense. The offense will be headed by the junior quarterback returner, Woody Barrett, with the cast of returning underperformers from last year. But the 3 returning seniors on defense may be able to close the gap just a little bit inside of the conference with some of the rivals because they've been there for a while and they might just want to play a little better than the 467.3 yards that they averaged giving up total last year on defense. So the defense floodgate is wide open with this team. The offense is don't really know which way to go, but they got some nice leadership in there, and they're going to be headed by the young quarterback. And also, the schedule that Kent State draws this year will definitely knock the P right out of hope, and the Golden Flashes will continue to underachieve this year. Big Wham over there. What you got to say about this Kent State team?
Well, I'm saying the same thing you saying, man. It's biting them right in the butt. They open up with Arizona State right there. You already know how I feel about certain Pac-12 teams. I'm not even going to go into Arizona State. We'll talk about that one later. But they gonna get smashed up by it on that game. And then they go back to Kennesaw State. They may be able to win that game, but who knows? Kent State, they haven't had a winning MAC season since 2012. I have no faith in them. They have no real good trajectory here on forward as far as what they're bringing back, and as far as anything else. Their last year were 2-12, 2-10, like you said, and they haven't had a winning season since 2012. I mean, do you really believe that they're gonna break any of those records that's been held up since the last 8 years? I don't think so.
Yeah, BigRagoo, what you got to say about it?
The one thing that jumps off the chart with me with this team right away, if you look at their defensive stats from last year, and I know they have 5 coming back, and they have a little bit of splash of leadership on seniors and juniors and whatnot coming back. But man, oh man, they're ranked dead last in yardage in the conference. They're ranked number 10 out of 12 in rushing. They're ranking number 11 out of 12 in scoring against, and number 9 in passing. So they need a lot of help. And with that schedule they have, just looking at it, I mean, there's some heavyweight teams coming in to pounce on them. And it could get really ugly for this team really early in the season. And I know a lot of the experts have got this projected at about 4 wins. But just looking at the schedule, I'm thinking maybe they get away with 2 wins. They'll be lucky. So I'm gonna be really one to turn around and say not a whole lot of upside and a whole lot of down. I mean, 1-7 last year in the conference, and I don't see it getting any easier from this year.
I'm right there with you on this team right here. We talked about it a little earlier, I think on the intro of the show, or maybe it was on one of our outtakes, but we talked about it earlier that this conference here kind of has the elite and they have the bad. And this team right here definitely is in the bad bunch right here, and it just don't get no much better. I don't know how much time we're going to spend on a team that went 2-10 last year. So that's all I got to say about it.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Y'all go back and look at what I said. I don't really care too much about Kent State. They have no. I mean, they may shock us. It's been 8 years since they had a winning season in 2012, but they may shock us. But I don't think so, bro. I think BigRagoo and you hit it right on the nail. Like they have all these different players coming back, and you keep bringing back these same players. They've been trashed. Like, why you keep bringing back these same guys? You need to start getting some new people up in there.
Well, here's the other thing. Keep this in mind too. This is the second year for this coach. He, like I say, 2-10 last year. Second year coming back. So they're going to probably give him at least, I would say, 4 years, maybe 5, to kind of get some momentum going. If not, then the revolving door will keep turning at Kent State.
Yeah, well, I gave him the benefit of the doubt with so many players returning on offense and key players at quarterback and wide receiver, running back. So I give him the benefit of the doubt for that. But it's just a bottom tier team in this conference, and it's crazy because some of these bottom tier teams have some of the toughest schedules compared to some of the top tier teams. Here's Kent State. They go to Arizona State. They play at Auburn. They also play at Wisconsin. Not to mention they also have to play Toledo, who is one of the top teams in the conference over here. At Ohio, you know, the only break they really get is Kennesaw State and maybe Akron. And this might be a spot for Akron to get a win. But we can't totally look past this team because, you know, when the bankroll gets dry later in the season and you see that Wednesday night game and you want to try to pump that bankroll up, you know, you got to jump in there and do something. I usually like to take overs in the MAC, especially when you got two teams that just are mediocre, that they usually go over. And then if it's two teams that are high-power offenses, I usually take the under in those in the MAC. But we'll see. Only time will tell right here on the Boss and the Sauce. Y'all ready to get into the next one?
Let's get on to the next one, my man.
Let's do it, man.
Do it.
We're going to get on into the next one. Y'all hang with us. Make sure you subscribe, like, and tell a friend. Boss and the Sauce Show. Let's go. Oh, yeah. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show. It don't stop. We keep the party going just like back in my DJ days, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to keep it going right here in the Mid-American Conference 2019 preview of the Miami Redhawks. That's Miami, Ohio, for those who don't understand. The Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Not the Miami we're going to shortly. But stay tuned for more stuff about that. But let's jump right into this Miami team. Now, Coach Martin reaches his 6th year here at Miami, yet he only returns 5 on offense, 5 on defense. Now, the athletic director over there got to be heating his seat up a little bit this year. They must, at some point, get more than just 6 wins. You know, this guy is basically underperforming in his time that he's been here. He went 6-6 last year, but he was a decent 6-2 in the conference. But they got to get over the hump if he wants to continue to keep his job right here at Miami, Ohio. But the offense will rely on a freshman this year, quarterback AJ Mayer, who has a great group in front of him. He has a nice wide receiver set, and he also has a decent O-line to help him out. But the injuries from 2018 on the defense can help or hurt him this year. We talked about the injury situation before. Players get injury. Injury is one of the most hardest things to get over in sports, period. And an injured player coming back is either going to succeed or it may be the downslope of his career. But this defense is going to definitely need to put the offense on the field more often so they can break in the new quarterback. And only time will tell what goes on with Miami, Ohio this year in this 2019 season right here. I'm calling for, I don't know, man. Let's talk to the fellas about it. I can't really give a win total yet. Let's see what my man BigRagoo has to say. BigRagoo, what you have to say about this one?
Okay, Miami Redbirds or Redhawks, excuse me. This is a team in the conference that's used to being, somewhere near the top of the conference year in, year out. They're kind of like in a, not want to call it setback mode, but just kind of like a rebuild mode. With they're kind of young in the quarterback position. They are battling. They do have a battle for the quarterback position between Williamson and Mayer. Mayer's a freshman and Williamson's a sophomore. Wide receiver wise, they get a couple of juniors and the lead receiver Luke Mayock. He's a senior. He's probably going to be the go-to guy. Last year they're coming off of a 6-2 MAC season, which is not too bad. 6-6 overall record wise. This year they got them projected to go a little bit south of the border there, probably like maybe like a 5-win season, maybe 6 wins, get back to where they were at. But overall, they're going to probably be like a middle of the pack team. Even though they got a projected 3rd in the conference, they're still going to be somewhere in the middle as far as the wins and losses goes. So it's definitely a rebuild year for this squad, and better things on the horizon. What do you think about it, Wham?
Man, BigRagoo, I think you're right. It's more of a situation. They only have 10 returning starters from last year, so they don't really have that much cohesion or leadership. As far as they're looking for the leader right now in the middle of this season, in this off season at this moment where they're doing their the practices as far as the fall camp practices. But I mean, as far as the schedule doesn't look that scary unless you look at the earlier schedule. But one thing I did notice when I was looking at their schedule is that the MAC always has some sort of cupcake within the first 2 games because they play Tennessee Tech on the next week, the second week there. So they play Ohio, then they play Tennessee Tech, then they play Cincinnati. 2 teams that's probably definitely going to beat them. They got to win that Tennessee Tech game or they're not going to really see that many wins this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, their schedule is a little tough. Like you said, Iowa, Tennessee Tech, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Buffalo. So they could be looking at 1-4, and then Western Michigan 1-5 real quick. So it can get ugly real fast for that. And then you got to squeak out a few W's after that. But like I say, it's going to be character building mode. The coach himself, he's been there 5 years. He does have a losing record. So who knows how much longer he'll be around if he doesn't turn things around within the next year or 2. So he's on the clock. He's on the hot seat.
Yeah,
what do you think,
DJ? He's
DJ?
absolutely on the hot seat. I totally agree with you guys saying this is definitely a rebuild, step back year, and this goes back into my thing about coaches in the 4th year, and then you got your 5th year, and then you got your 6th year right here. Now, 6 years into the program right here. He comes back with 5-5. That kind of tells me, I don't know how enthusiastic he is about staying here at this program. So I'm not going to expect too much out of this squad right here. I believe that they may just do mediocre this year. Maybe right back 6-6, 7-5 tops. Anybody else got a win
Yeah,
total on
I
this
agree.
one?
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
mean,
more along the same. I'm sorry,
I was
I'm
thinking
thinking
the
the
same
same thing.
thing, a little bit probably, yeah, me and you both. I'm thinking the same thing right there. I mean, that they definitely have to win like the close games, the toss-up games that the MAC offers. But other than that, I don't know. It's crazy, bro. This is one of those teams in the MAC that you gotta look probably week by week and kind of gauge into what they're gonna do before you make a decision on any of these bets. You know?
That's what it is
Yeah,
right there. And I can't trust the team 100%. But once again, like I said, on the end of all of these sectors, is that when that Wednesday come around or that Thursday early game, I may be putting a wager down on one of these MAC teams. But let's move on over into some more of this, man. We having the ball. Y'all feeling good? Y'all having a good time on here with me?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
bro.
That's
Oh yeah, man. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure letting you guys, let me hop on with you guys. Crunching down the Mac, everybody's favorite conference. Let's go,
Hey,
man.
that's what it's all about right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. Everybody stay in tune, stay connected. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, notify, all that good stuff. We're going to continue to bring the hottest content on the internet right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. Let's go to the next team.
Ohio, Ohio, headed by Frank Zolich, 15-year coach. Now, a lot of us know Frank Zolich from his Nebraska days, but he's doing a bang up job up there at Ohio University up in Athens. Last year, he finished up 9-4, and he's 106-75 overall. So he's got a winning record. He brings in quarterback Nathan Rourke, who's arguably the best quarterback in the division, not the conference, in the East Division. He's got 23 touchdowns and 2,400 yards. He's got a quarterback rating of 156, so that's a real nice look for a leader on that side of the ball. He's a dual threat style quarterback, and he has over 600,000 or 6,000 yards combined in 2 seasons overall. So you want somebody on the squad. That's the kind of kid you want playing for you. Now, they do lose a pair of running backs, and it will be pretty young there. And the offensive line has a bunch of experience. They're bringing back 5 50-year seniors to block up front for the new kids on the block. And we'll see how they handle business there. They do have the number 2 offense in the MAC and the number 1 rushing overall. Now, even though our guy has all that yardage, because he's a dual threat, they're 9th on the pass. So maybe they get some improvements, with that offensive line to get some blocking, and maybe they tighten up that receiver squad a little bit. Defensively speaking, they're ranked number 3 in the MAC. They're averaging 24.3 points a game, and they're 11th versus the pass overall. What you think about this squad, Wham?
I think you hit the hammer right there on the nail as well, man. That was a good breakdown. I like the way Nathan Book Rook, whatever his name is, man. I can't really pronounce it. It's just one of those things that is the E silent, is it not silent? I don't know. But in this case, I mean, you got a long tenure coach. You go back and to look at, coach coaches really manage these type of games. Football, you want someone that has the sticks, like we young kids would say, that's playing video games. Whoever has the sticks, you want them to be able to execute plays, and we want this guy to make execute the plays. And he put Nathan in a great spot last year, and I think that's going to translate into this year as well. So I really have them ranked really high in the MAC. I actually have them going all the way. Their schedule isn't as tough as everyone else's schedule as well. We talked about it earlier. A lot of these younger teams, these lower teams in the MAC got the shit end of the stick basically and got tough ass schedules. And a lot of these big types teams that they think that's going to make, good seasons and good runs, have another Buffalo year type things. I think that's a good chance for Ohio to have that type of year. So I'm liking Ohio this year. You know, there's other teams in the MAC that could derail them. Don't get me wrong, because this is the MAC. There's action happening every week. So you know, don't get it confused. But in this case, I think Ohio has a great shot of taking all the way this year in the MAC.
I can say y'all beat me to the punch on this one because I was gonna call this Ohio team my sleeper team of the year in the MAC right here, but all that's out the window at this point. But let's get in it. For me, I see after a 9-4 season in 2018, Coach Frank Solich um, will have his work all cut out for him this year in 2019. The offense returns people in good spots. They got a quarterback wide receiver tandem. They also got a left guard and a left tackle tandem as well that's going to be returning back on the line. So that just looks absolutely awesome for them, overall right there. So I like that look as well. Now, it'll be tough to average 258 yards rushing like they did last year and 208 yards passing without this 1,300-yard rusher they had last year, AJ Quillette, if y'all can pronounce that one. But the defense also gets a new defensive coordinator in Ron Collins on this one, and he gets 6 starters on defense, one at each level, each layer of the defense. So that's a nice look right there. And this team is very balanced group with some young talent on it that should do well in this conference right here, minus the injuries or anything that happens to them. I like this team right here a lot, and I also found a little hidden jewel on them right here is that they were undefeated at home in 2018. They actually go about 9 wins back straight wins at home. So I'm definitely looking to put some money on this team in the home situation for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, well, you talk about the new defensive coordinator. Like I said before, they were 11th versus the pass, and on scoring wise, and rushing, they were pretty decent. They had a good look on the against the run. So, and they do bring back some seniors, like you said, and a lot of juniors actually. So they're going to be ready
Yeah.
for this year and next year. So, and with that new defensive coordinator, maybe they kind of take on a different type of look to help with that passing. But overall, like you said, well balanced squad. They're in a great position. They got solid veterans on defense coming back. So a
Right.
lot younger on the skill positions. But I think the way that Zolich coaches his teams, they're in a promising position to easily get 9 wins in my book. What do you think about that, Wham?
I like that right there, just like that. Maybe even 10 wins if they, play really well earlier in the league and in the year. Some of these MAC teams they have really good records against the spread against non-conference games. I like them against, maybe come out and maybe pull some upsets off non-conference. But in this case, this team, like you said, he has a new defensive coach, but he has so much film on these players coming back. He has a lot of homework to do. So they gave him an opportunity to prove what he got, and he may be able to put some talent out there in good positions because he's seen certain type of film work. So that's a good angle that I actually didn't think of until you said that, BigRagoo. So I appreciate you there. It's again, Boston and sauce. Y'all getting the sauce right here. It's laid out for you. But I like Ohio, 'cause, we like the quarterback, and then on top of that, the cohesiveness and the coach having them there a long time. You just always love that.
Yeah, that's always a solid look. DJ, Big Boss, how many games do you think this team wins in this upcoming season?
I don't know on this one. 9-4 might be a little far fetched this year, but at the same time, nothing's stopping them from getting back to the 9-4, maybe even getting to 10. Like I said, with the home streak that they had, 9 games straight wins at home. That's a serious team. That means that they play with a little pride. They play with a like my coach used to say. He used to call it having a little 42 on your chest. They play with a little something on their chest, and I definitely like that. I'm gonna count them in for a solid 8, but I think they could get a 10-win season on this one. The schedule's not too hard. Uh, Out of conference, they see Pittsburgh, Marshall, Rhode Island, all winnable games all the way up and down the schedule right here. And I'll just add another little fun fact to this one. Top newcomer, Quarterback Curtis Rope, brother of Nathan Rope. It's being backed up by his brother right here. The younger brother of starting quarterback Nathan Rope, Curtis, a pro style quarterback from Canada, signed during spring practices and is all ready to go right over here at the Ohio Bobcats. But that's it for me. We're gonna move on to the next team. Keep this thing going. It's Big Boss, the whole crew right here on the Boss and the Sauce show. Let's get to the next game. Hey! The plane has landed, y'all. Let us land. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this Mid-American Conference College Football 2019. It's been fun, fellas. How you guys feeling?
Man, I feel amazing. I appreciate you guys for allowing me to be on here. It just feel honored. Boss and the Salt Show, you guys are doing a wonderful job. We crushing these conference. I'm definitely going to save and bookmark everything. I definitely recommend you guys hit the save on your YouTube, especially if you subscribe to the channel. You want to make sure you save it because when you come back to it on that week, you don't know if you should bet the under on Toledo or not. You need to understand these things. So keep it locked in. DJ Big Boss, BigRagoo, I appreciate you guys. Ragu, close this out, man. Let's get this knocked out.
Hey, listen, it was a pleasure having you on, and so much information you brought to the table has been outstanding. So I'm glad you got to chop it up with us. We're glad to have you, and we're going to make it happen again. So you ain't going nowhere fast. You stay right where you're at. And we're going to get into these to the top two teams in each side of the conference. My man DJ is going to bring it on to us. So DJ, go ahead and kick it
Okay,
off.
I'm going to jump right into the West Conference right here, and I'm going to go with my top two. It's pretty simple on this one. I already told you I like Toledo a lot in this one, and I like them at the number one spot. Phil still happens to agree with me on this one, but in the number two spot, I'm gonna go with Northern Illinois, the return champ, to fall just a little short
Wow.
and take them in the number two spot over here on the West. Now on the East, um, they already got it lined up again. They got Ohio number one. I like that look right there. Maybe this is one of those conferences that Phil Steele is right on point with. So I like Ohio right there at the top spot. But I'd like to see I like to see Buffalo come in above Miami in this one. So in the top spot we got Ohio. Number two we got Buffalo, and I take them kind of as a tie because I'm gonna also mention Miami, Ohio to tie the number two spot right there with Buffalo. How about you, Big Ragu?
Yeah, I'm going to start on the east side too. I think Ohio is a no-brainer as far as that goes. Way too much talent, coaching wise, and all across the ball both sides. And I'm going to kind of get off of Buffalo a little bit this year because I think they'll probably have a down year, even though they're a great coach team. Maybe talent is going to be a little lacking due to NFL drafts and prospects and whatnot. And I think Miami did underperform a little bit, and I think Buffalo overperformed. So even though they had that great season, Buffalo, I'm going to take Miami Redhawks to kind of slide up into the number two spot that side. And then on the other side, I'm going to hit the 1-2 combination again, like you did. I'm going to go with, well, no, not like you did. I'm going to go Toledo on top, and I'm gonna put my faith in Western Michigan because I think there's too much talent there for them to kind of default and drop down to number three. I think their schedule is a little tough, but I think they kind of muster enough W's to kind of maybe slide up a 8-4 or 7-5 ahead of Northern Illinois.
How about you,
Hey
Wham?
man, I feel like I'm gonna go start with the West since I agree with Big Ragu. I feel like the scoring is gonna be intimate, and they're gonna be scoring the West out of the bunches. The West is gonna have a tough year this year. NIU, I don't feel like they're gonna have the same structure and the same type of program that they did last year with the new coach coming in. That's a running back coach. We'll see how Trey Haberson does, if I'm saying his name correctly, but he's supposed to do good. Let's see how NIU does. I don't feel that I have faith in them. Western Michigan, they're over team. They're pretty good against the spread as well. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go with Toledo as well. I like those both to be kind of a toss up. If you see Western Michigan's schedule, they have a tough road schedule. If they win two of those road games, you know what I mean? They're pretty much having a really good season. And I feel like they could beat out Toledo for the top in the West. And going back to the East, we both are, I think all three of us agree that Ohio probably will win the MAC championship this year. Nathan Rook is just one of the best quarterbacks in this league. He's a dual threat. He has everything. He checks off every box. You know, he's a prototypical quarterback. I like everything that he does. And as far as Buffalo, I think Buffalo might just take a slight bit back. They might not take the full dip back. I'm not as high on Miami like BigRagoo is, but as far as Buffalo, I think they could take the second spot for the East, and you could just knock it down for me. I like Ohio to win the full MAC though.
I like that right there. Now let's get into. Usually we do two selected games um, that have a line out on them to cap some, to give out some picks right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. But this year, I mean this episode. I'm sorry, this episode. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna give you my best pick, and I just have y'all give y'all best pick. It's only a few games with a line right here, but I'm really liking Arizona State by 25 over Kent State. It's going to be an easy blowout right here. Be the first time for Arizona State to let their offense let loose a little bit and score some points because they're definitely going to kill them on defense. They'll probably score a touchdown or two on defense against Kent State in that matchup. So I'm liking Arizona State minus the points. How about you, Big Ragu?
On that particular game, the Arizona State
No,
game.
what is your best look for
Oh,
the MAC
oh,
in week one?
er, week one. Okay, week one. Let's see. I'm looking at this Toledo, Kentucky game, and like Wham was talking about, I hope I'm not stealing anybody's thunder here, but I really like an overlook on that Toledo Kentucky game because I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think it's going to be early out of the gate for Kentucky, even though they were a defensive minded squad. And I think the numbers in the 50s, if I recall, when
59.
we
It's
looked
at
at it.
59 right now. Yeah.
59, yeah. I think either one of these schools. I think Toledo is going to get 3 touchdowns, and I think Kentucky, the way Toledo plays defense, I think Kentucky's probably going to get 4 or 5 touchdowns to push it over without any question. So I'm looking probably maybe like 60, maybe low 60s to mid 60s in that game.
That's a nice look right there. Wham, what you got for the MAC?
I mean, for the most part, I haven't really looked at too much of the MAC, but I at one of the games. I believe it was Western Michigan for the Miami Ohio game. I'm circling in on that game for Western Michigan because they have a tough they have a tough road record. But the Miami Ohio game, it looks like that's geared in just around homecoming. I'm literally looking at them to cover that spread. I think that's going to be one of those things. If we could get a good line, if they don't, you know, beat the brakes off of Michigan State, or you know what I mean, or beat the brakes out, or really win convincingly by Syracuse, and the line isn't, pretty much exploded at that point. I think we may be able to get a good line out of the Miami Ohio game on the road because Miami Ohio, I'm not feeling real high on them, but I feel like they're going to have one of those kind of like subductive years that you don't know how to get them. You may be able to get a pretty good line on them on homecoming week. So it's really far fetched. You know what I mean? Holla at me back when it gets there. Don't talk to me right now about it. But DJ Big Boss asked me a question. I really feel like that's probably one of the things that I'm gonna be looking for. I'm gonna write it in my notes, and if that comes to pass, that is something that's reasonable. I'm definitely gonna be on Western Michigan at that point, and probably the over as well.
There it is right there. You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. Now, we gave y'all information about the conference, players, stats, you name it, matchups, schedules, and also we broke it down and gave y'all who we like in the east side of the division. And with a cherry on top, we gave you a nice couple picks right there. Like I said, I'm on Arizona State to beat the brakes off of Kent State. Big Ragu He's over there on the over in the what game was that? BigRagoo
Toledo,
Toledo
Kentucky.
Kentucky game, and my man Wham's looking further down the line at the Western Michigan game for homecoming. So
And, and just to cover back on that, I'm sorry to cut you off, boss. And the Central Michigan Chippewas, we're looking for them to have a down year. They play New Mexico in the middle of the season. That might be a win for them. They might put that one in the middle of the season for a reason. I think they might want that to be a W. So look out for that. Make sure y'all bookmark that one
there
too.
it is, there right here on the Boss in the Sauce Show. Stay tuned, subscribe, tell a friend, hit the notification, comment because we comment back, and shout out to all the people that already commented on all our shows, all of our thousands of views that we got on all these different videos we put out there. We appreciate everybody's support, but we steadily building in the market. We got 2 more subscribers away from 200. Please subscribe to Who-Bangin Sports to get the best from the Boss and the Sauce Show, Wham Talk, and more coming in this season and lasting forever, y'all. That's all I got to say. Any last words for the people for y'all?
One last word for everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wham. And guess what, BJ? What about Wham? Wham, what you got to say, buddy?
Bro, you already know, man. DJ, man, I appreciate y'all. Love everything. Love you guys for subscribing. Definitely, I know you guys are subscribing because you heard my man DJ Big Boss, Big Ragu is in the house. Don't forget Big Boss in the sauce. We in here, man. Let's get this
Hey,
money.
but you forgot the secret password to the Boss and the Sauce Show.
Oh no, I see you
And
at the
I'll
window.
see you at the
You ain't
window.
gotta see me around.
See you
No,
at
I
the
see you
window,
there.
baby.
We see all y'all at the window.
Peace.
Peace.